The inmate who ran a crime empire from behind bars, the cell that controlled Los Angeles. Subscribe now, because the moment you hear how one inmate built a crime empire from a concrete box, you'll understand why some prison doors shouldn't just stay locked, they should be buried. The story begins inside Blackstone State Penitentiary, a maximum security fortress on the outskirts of Los Angeles. From the outside, it looked like every other high-risk facility: razor wire, guard towers, steel doors, but Blackstone wasn't known for the inmates who went in. It was known for the ones who kept controlling the streets long after they were locked up. At the center of it all was one man, Rafael Reyes Montoya, a name whispered through barrios, courtrooms, police precincts, and prison yards. In the 90s, he was a rising lieutenant in a powerful Southern California gang. By 2004, he was arrested on charges of trafficking and murder. By 2012, he was serving life without parole. That was supposed to be the end of his influence. But inside Blackstone, Reyes didn't disappear. He evolved. The prison classified him as no contact, high risk, placing him in a windowless isolation cell with minimal privileges. To the public, he was contained. To law enforcement, he was neutralized. But to the men who ran Los Angeles's underground economy, Reyes was becoming something else, a ghost kingpin ruling through whispers, smuggled notes, and coded signals. Detective Laura Vega of the LAPD Gang Intelligence Unit first noticed the pattern. Drug shipments across East LA suddenly synchronized. Extortion rings that had competing leaders began working together. And murders stopped being chaotic and became tactical. Whoever was giving orders wasn't doing it for money. They were doing it with purpose. Precision. And every informant Vega flipped told her the same thing. It all goes back to Reyes. Even inside, he runs everything. That sentence made no sense. Reyes was supposed to be under 23-hour lockdown. No phone. No visitors except his attorney. Meals passed through a slot. He didn't even touch the prison yard. So how was he controlling an operation bigger than the one that put him there? Vega filed a request to interview Reyes, but it was denied by Blackstone's administration. The warden claimed Reyes had no privileges to speak with law enforcement. "He's locked down," she said. "He's not your man." But Vega didn't buy it. One night, two inmates belonging to rival factions were caught passing a contraband cell phone between blocks. When questioned, both told the same story: the phone didn't belong to them. It was rented. And the person charging the fee was Reyes. Vega escalated the investigation and joined forces with the FBI's Los Angeles field office. Special Agent Carter Hensley, known for his ruthless efficiency, joined the case with one mission: prove Reyes was running a criminal empire from inside solitary. They started with surveillance. Blackstone provided access to hallway cameras outside Reyes's cell. At first glance, nothing unusual appeared. Guards walked by. Carts rolled. Doors opened and closed. But on the fourth day, Vega noticed something strange. At the exact same time every morning, 3:17 a.m., a guard paused for 22 seconds in front of Reyes's door. No sound. No movement. No explanation. On the sixth day, another guard repeated the same action. On the seventh day, a different guard. Someone wasn't just watching Reyes. Someone was receiving instructions from him. Vega demanded access inside the prison. The warden resisted until the FBI threatened a federal inquiry. Forced into cooperation, Blackstone opened its gates. The first thing Vega noticed walking through C Block was the tension. Guards avoided eye contact. Inmates stared with strange confidence. Something about the atmosphere felt staged, like everyone had already been warned they were coming. Reyes's cell was at the end of a narrow corridor. Heavy steel door. Bulletproof window. Layered locks. Vega expected to see a silent, defeated man inside. Instead, she found Reyes sitting upright on his bunk, hands folded, staring at her with a calmness that felt unnatural. "Detective Vega," he said softly, as if greeting an old friend. "You took longer than I expected." She froze. "How do you know who I am?" she asked. Reyes smiled faintly. "I know everyone who tries to disrupt my business." Before Vega could respond, Agent Hensley stepped forward. "We're investigating criminal activity tied to you and your associates. We have evidence." Reyes raised a single finger. That tiny gesture shut Hensley up like a slammed door. "Careful," Reyes whispered. "You don't want to find out how deep this goes." Vega's stomach tightened. Something felt wrong. She turned toward the wall-mounted vent, and that's when she saw it, the faint glimmer of a hidden wire tucked behind the steel panel. Not prison-issued. Not standard. Something connected Reyes to the outside world. But when Vega grabbed the screwdriver from her kit and pried the vent open, what she found inside wasn't a wire. It was a microphone relay. An entire communication system. Someone inside the prison had built it for him. Someone with technical knowledge. Someone with access. The realization snapped through her. Reyes wasn't running the prison. He was running the people running the prison. And when Vega turned to confront the guard behind her, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The guard was already reaching for his weapon. The guards who answered to him. The moment Vega saw the guard's hand drop to his holster, instinct took over. She stepped back, drawing her own weapon, while Agent Hensley barked, "Don't move." The guard froze, eyes blank, jaw clenched, but Vega saw the truth in his expression. Not fear. Not shock. Obedience. To Reyes. Warden Hernandez arrived seconds later, storming down the hall with two supervisors. Her voice cracked the tension. "Officer Gould. Stand down." The guard hesitated, then lowered his hand. Vega couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't afraid of the warden at all. Only Reyes. They restrained Gould and escorted him out, but he didn't struggle. He just kept whispering something under his breath as they passed Vega. "He sees everything." Reyes remained seated on his bunk, unmoving, watching it all with unsettling calm. Vega locked eyes with him through the glass. "You're done," she said. He smiled softly. "Detective, we're just beginning." Vega left the cell with Hensley at her side. The door slammed shut behind them with the weight of a falling coffin lid. As they stepped into the hallway, Hensley leaned close. "He owns these people," he muttered. "We need to flip one of them." Vega nodded, but she already knew one thing: flipping a guard was almost impossible. They weren't working for money alone. They were working for fear. Reyes controlled the one currency more powerful than cash: consequences. The first break, a hidden ledger. The interrogation of Officer Gould went nowhere. He refused counsel. Refused water. Refused rest. He stared blankly at the table while one repeated sentence left his lips like a chant. "I made a promise. I can't break it." Vega pressed harder. "A promise to who?" This time, his eyes flicked upward for the shortest moment toward the ceiling, a gesture almost invisible. But Vega caught it. The cameras. The vents. Reyes wasn't in the room, but his presence was. They moved Gould to an isolated wing with no electronics. Only then did he speak, slowly, shaking, like someone afraid of being overheard by the walls themselves. "I didn't want to do it," he said. "But once you're in, you're in. You don't get to walk away." He told them about cash drops, burner phones, and coded messages hidden inside routine guard logs. But it wasn't money that bound them. It was leverage. Reyes had dirt on everyone: past mistakes, debts, addictions, affairs, criminal cousins, anything that could ruin a life. Then Gould said 5 words that chilled Vega more than anything before. "He has help from administration. Warden Hernandez's inner circle." If true, the conspiracy wasn't limited to guards, it reached the highest levels of Blackstone. Gould finally broke, revealing the location of a ledger hidden inside the old records room. Vega and Hensley raced across the prison, unlocked the dusty storage door, and searched through shelves of forgotten paperwork. Behind a stack of outdated inventory logs, Vega found it, a worn black notebook wrapped in electrical tape. Inside were hundreds of handwritten entries. Dates. Amounts. Initials. Assignments. Contraband items. Transcriptions of coded phone calls. And one column labeled simply, "Confirmed loyal." More than 30 names filled the list. Guards. Medical staff. Maintenance workers. Administrators. All connected. All working for Reyes. Vega's pulse hammered. This wasn't a gang. This wasn't a network. This was an internal government. A prison monarchy with Reyes as the king. The mysterious shipment. Before they could process the ledger, a shout echoed through the hallway. Medical emergency. Inmate down in C block. Vega and Hensley rushed toward the commotion. They arrived to find two inmates collapsed on the floor, convulsing violently, foam building around their mouths. Medics swarmed, but the prisoners were unconscious within seconds. Overdose. But something was wrong. Blackstone had its problems, but overdoses had become rare in the last 2 years. The prison's contraband flow was meticulously regulated, because Reyes controlled it. Gould's voice replayed in Vega's mind. No one moves product without his approval. So why did two inmates suddenly get access to drugs Reyes didn't sanction? Hensley crouched beside the medics. What did they take? The lead medic showed him a small folded packet recovered from one inmate's pocket. Plain white. No markings. No scent. But Vega had seen something similar before, during a DEA case involving a deadly synthetic being pushed across Los Angeles. A product Reyes had aggressively kept off the streets because it threatened his own revenue. Someone inside was pushing new product to undermine Reyes's empire. A rival faction. Inside the prison. Vega felt something shift, like the ground moved beneath her. If Reyes had enemies inside, then this investigation wasn't exposing just one operation. It was exposing a war. The cliffhanger. Hensley's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his expression collapsed into something cold. Vega, you need to see this. It was the live feed from the camera monitoring Reyes's cell. 6 minutes earlier, all lights in his block flickered. Cameras glitched for exactly 13 seconds. And when the feed returned, Reyes was no longer sitting on his bunk. He was standing at the window, staring directly into the camera. But that wasn't the part that turned Vega's blood to ice. On the wall behind him, written in charcoal, smeared by a hand, were 3 words. He's not alone. The war inside Blackstone had already begun. And Reyes wasn't the only one running an empire. The prison king and the ghost rival. The words on the wall burned into Vega's mind, he's not alone. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a warning. It was a declaration. Reyes had an enemy inside Blackstone. Someone powerful enough to challenge the king. And that meant the investigation had just become a race against two empires fighting for control of the same prison. Vega and Hensley rushed toward C Block, accompanied by a rapid response team. The hallways pulsed with tension. Inmates stared through the bars with wide, knowing eyes. Guards whispered among themselves, unsure who they could trust. Blackstone had never felt more unstable. When they reached Reyes's cell, he was standing dead center, perfectly still, hands clasped behind his back. The charcoal message on the wall was still drying, the dust slightly disturbed. But Reyes himself looked unbothered. Vega stepped in. Who is he? Reyes blinked once, slowly, like a man savoring control. Detective, you're trying to understand a game that started long before you arrived. Someone is moving product behind your back, Vega said. Someone's undermining your operation. 2 inmates overdosed. That wasn't your doing. He tilted his head. And you assume that matters to me? Hensley slammed a folder onto the floor. Drop the act, Reyes. You're not the only one giving orders in this prison anymore. Reyes smiled. But it wasn't amusement, it was confirmation. "You want the truth?" he asked quietly. "Look outside these walls. The man you're hunting, he's not an inmate. He's not a guard. He's above us." Vega frowned. "Above? You mean higher rank? Administrator?" Reyes didn't answer. Instead, he stepped back against the wall and tapped a single knuckle on the vent, 3 slow, deliberate knocks. The entire cell block fell silent. And then, deep behind the walls, Vega heard something answer, a faint knock back. Reyes whispered, "You're already too late." Before Vega could react, a deafening blast shook the entire block. Lights flickered. Inmates screamed. Smoke poured from the far end of the hallway. A diversion. Hensley radioed for lockdown as the team sprinted toward the explosion site. They found a utility closet blown open from the inside, wiring ripped from the walls. Vega's heart dropped. That closet connected directly to the service tunnels beneath Blackstone. The ghost rival wasn't in the prison. He was inside the walls. The secret room. They followed the smoke trail down a maintenance corridor, past broken pipes and exposed wiring, until Vega found a half-melted access panel. Behind it was a narrow passageway that shouldn't exist. No blueprints showed it, no maps referenced it. As they stepped inside, Vega's flashlight illuminated a horrifying sight. A small room. A metal chair bolted to the floor. A table lined with contraband phones, routers, hard drives. And on the far wall, a corkboard filled with photographs. Not of Reyes. Not of inmates. But of guards. Administrators. Judges. Police officers. Dozens of them. This wasn't a rival gang. This wasn't another inmate's power grab. This was blackmail infrastructure, a full intelligence operation built inside the prison itself. Someone had been monitoring Blackstone for years. Whoever this ghost rival was, he controlled the one thing Reyes didn't. Information. Vega found the most disturbing photo pinned at the center. It showed a younger Reyes standing outside a warehouse with a man whose face was scratched out, violently, repeatedly. Below it, a scribbled note. He betrayed the program. Hensley whispered, Reyes wasn't the king. He was a lieutenant. Someone higher was pulling strings. Before Vega could process it, a metallic clang echoed behind them. The door had shut. Locked from the outside. But it wasn't just locked. Someone was standing in the doorway. A shadow stepped forward, not Reyes, not a guard. A man with a shaved head, a scar running across his neck, wearing a faded maintenance uniform. And in his hand, a handmade radio jammer blinking red. You shouldn't have come here, he said calmly. This place wasn't meant for cops. Hensley raised his weapon. Who the hell are you? The man smiled faintly. The one Reyes replaced. Vega's blood froze. The original architect of the empire. The Ghost King. Reyes got greedy, the man said softly. He wanted full control. So I let the feds sniff around. I let you dig. Now you know too much. He raised his other hand, holding a small detonator. Vega lunged at him, tackling him before he could press it. The device clattered across the metal floor. Hensley cuffed him, breath shaking. As they dragged the man out, Vega asked, why target Reyes? Why bring war inside the prison? The ghost rival laughed under his breath. You think Reyes was dangerous? Detective, you have no idea what's coming. The final twist. Reyes was moved to federal custody the next morning. Dozens of guards and administrators were arrested based on the ledger. The ghost rival, identified as Victor Calvillo, a former corrections intelligence asset, faced federal charges. Blackstone fell quiet. For a month. Then, one morning, Vega received a secure call from an FBI field office in Phoenix. A prison warden reported something strange during routine checks. A guard paused for 22 seconds outside a high-risk inmate's cell. The same pattern. The same time. The same signature. On the inmate's bed was a folded note. 3 words. Written in Reyes's handwriting. I'm still king. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one, hit subscribe so you don't miss it.